Hi, everyone. On the recording of this and the time we're recording, it is Mother's Day in 2023. And um, what I'm thinking about for our practice today is what's beyond duality, what's beyond yin yang. Those of us familiar with that symbol, the black and white symbol of the yin and the yang, the teardrop or water drop, the two nestled together. One is black and one is white. The black one has a dot of white in it, and the white one has a dot of black. And so, what seems to be one thing usually has a speck, at least a speck of its opposite within it, and vice versa. I'm also thinking about circles, and a couple decades ago, no, not that long ago, 13 years ago, I think was my first meeting with the teacher, T.S. Little, the yoga teacher, and he was the first, I think he gave name to that circle that I've used for the image for this video, that my own circle called an Enso in Japanese. Enso, and it is usually seen as, mine is done digitally on a little app on my phone, but it's usually done with a type of art, Japanese art called sumi-e. It's I'm not sure if the brushes are used dry with black ink. Anyhow, they're brushes, and you've probably seen them, black and white. And the enso is a practice of making a circle with one movement, one stroke, maybe two. I've read on Wikipedia. So rather than pilfer one from the internet, I tried my own with the limited ability of my sketching app. So if it was a real brush, the width might have changed a bit more. Sometimes that circle closes, and sometimes it is open. I think Tia said it wasn't always an open circle, but Wikipedia opposed that, said that sometimes it could be closed, and that the symbolism of the open circle is that there's still process going on, and the closed circle implies perfection, and that both are really in existence. And there's a wholeness, a circle, I think, to all of us, if you just think of what a circle means to you, that continuity. And maybe if we expand it to not just circle, but a spiral, an arc. And as I've talked about sometimes in my teaching lately, none of the bones in our body are a perfectly straight line, like the edge of my Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind book. They're all forms that are three-dimensional, of course, but all have a bit of a curve to them. So there's movement in the circle. I also have been using from the Feldenkrais tradition a lot of clock images to guide our movement. So today, for our micro movement, we'll be moving our eyes, and we'll be imagining a clock face as a template. So choose your position, choose your posture, and I'm going to read a little bit later from this book, from Shunryu Suzuki's book on the importance of how we tend to our posture. And so you may be sitting, lying down, you might even be standing, but get what you need to support this roughly half-hour practice. So meaning you might need cushion to sit on, you might need something under your legs, you might need something under your head if you are sitting on, if you're lying down on the floor. Thank you for being here today with this practice that we can do through Sun and Moon Yoga Studio's YouTube page. And start to settle into just feeling yourself right here. And this is a big ask. It's Sometimes it's easy to do that, to just turn and just stop and feel what's here, what's now, what is my experience, what's coming, what's going. Sometimes that's really easy, and then sometimes it's hard. It's hard to sit still. There are movements in us, inertia happening that is taking us maybe sometimes in our mind, but sometimes it's in our nervous system. You can just sort of feel the revving, or in my experience, I feel it almost like a something like restlessness, but it's almost like I just want to pop up out of where I am, like popcorn. Feels just like popcorn. Yes. Yeah, Sharon Landreth talked about our mind being like that, but I feel it sometimes in my body, just wanting to pop. And that may or may not be true for you. You may find stillness and just this right here-ness quite easily. Notice your breathing as we feel the ground. We almost feel the vibrations of the ground that seems quite solid, but we could almost imagine a message coming up of, I'm here, I'm solid. It is expressing itself. And so we're always playing with contrasts. And so we might feel that sense of, yes, I'm right here, and yet, and you kind of capture what that is, the qualities we feel that our human form allows us to take in, and then it's gone. It's something else. Sometimes it's the states we experience linger a bit longer. And part of what I'm interested in today and always is what's beyond those states, what's not. So things are always impermanent, but there is something, the essence of us, the part that doesn't change, that has no qualities, and the Enso or the yin yang symbol capture that in the movement you see in those teardrops, nestled teardrops. Um, but also in that we look at it and it's one wholeness. It's a whole picture. It's a metaphor again. The wholeness and wholeness. Here's something that was an aha moment for me this morning, remembering this idea that something we cannot grasp with just the mind, because the mind functions, the nervous system and mind functions on parsing things, on this versus that, comparing, on two versus one, on three or three, on mauve 80s color couch versus teal aqua cushion, comfortable versus uncomfortable, always black versus white, teardrop versus dot, flat paper versus three-dimensional form. But the together with the sensing of our hearts, our bodies, and our minds together, maybe sense into this realm of spirit, of never not here, of infinity, of permanence. And so maybe as I've been speaking, your attention has drawn these elements, and perhaps you feel some of this integration pointed to from the words. Let's bring our attention to our eyes, even as we still note in our peripheral sensing our bodies, our surroundings, our breath, the ground, the air around. And maybe as I suggested to bring attention to the eyes, maybe you noticed qualities that were there, even differences in the left and right. And I often catch myself sort of squinting, furrowing my brow, even just a little bit, almost a chronic on thinking. And perhaps we can relax across the forehead and the corners of the eyes. Eyes could be closed for this, could be a little bit open or totally open, so your choice. My feeling is to go with closed eyes and a deep letting go and relaxation happen there. And just take imagining that in front of us is a clock face or in front of both eyes. And let's take our eyes to roll up along the midline of the clock, going between the 12 and the 6, both of them slowly. And when we go slow, it's very, very helpful in noticing and becoming aware of what we may not have been aware of before, going slow. And not to confuse the slow, quiet, still with permanence, with that essence, unending, unbeginning essence. Slow will help you see, I can't make that go straight. When it's not straight, we're going, of course, we're drawing sort of an arc with our eyeballs up and down. And you might notice things like some of us get a little nauseous when we move our eyes. You might even notice that rolling the eyes pulls on other tissue close to or connected to, or even farther from the eyes because the tissue connects. The tissues and nerves and muscles connect to other muscles and fibers inside our body and our head and our neck and our down to our hearts, our bellies, our legs, out to our arms. Okay, pause that moment. We did that a lot up and down, and just let your eyes rest. And you might notice just anything that's different, that's new. You might even notice a calmer feeling, or maybe a more agitated feeling. Now let's take our eyes to be looking as if we're looking forward in the middle. My eyes are closed, but again, your eyes could be open. And just begin to draw a line across the horizon, left and right, through the middle. Maybe it might not be the horizon. For me, it's just above the windowsills that are in front of me. And you may notice other parts of your face moving. Stay relaxed and keep going slowly, especially if you find that uh, the eyes are jumpy or the movement is in some way difficult. Slow it down. And sometimes I've had students who are tell me it's so boring. It's like watching the eye wants to go down, and on the left it wants to go up in those corners. Just interesting. Okay, let that go and just rest your eyes again. And this time I'm going to rest mine just barely open, just gazing at the carpet patterns in front of me, but closing my eyes so much that it almost starts to blur. Seeing what's here now. And we went between the 12 and the 6 and the 3 and the 9. And now let's go up to the 12 and make a circle around the clock, going to the 1, the 2, the 3, slowly and onward around the clock, just slowly seeing how is your circle being drawn as you are thinking you are intending it to be. So when drawing that Enso on my little phone, on my little app, it's interesting how, and if you've done any art at all, any drawing, you know that it's doesn't always come out as you think you're directing your hand and your implement to do. Go even slower, and I get curious about the parts that are challenging, and then I sort of massage that arc a few more times, but I notice in myself, and this might be like an example of what you might notice. I notice almost a I've got to fix it. I got to figure it out. So let me revisit that challenging part. Where another person or me at another time may say, "Oh, I just want to leave that alone. Let me go where it's easy. Let me go where it's easily enjoyable." Or maybe I'll leave that challenging part open and make that a turning point and turn around and go in the other direction again, then make it all the way back almost to where that was and turn again. And so play with the arcs, the whole circle, the direction. Maybe make your circle smaller or imagine spiraling out forward and back in, or not really. I was like, could feel like forward and back, but just making the spiral in toward the center, toward the eye pupil in a way, and then back out. And then could we spiral in the other direction toward the center and back out? And of course, take care of if you're feeling sort of nauseous or stop. Maybe just imagine doing the movement, or or don't do it at all. All right, wind it down. Maybe now or in another few breaths, just come to a stop with the eyes. Rest where you are. Hmm. And perhaps you may just stay right where you are because the practice may have brought a quiet, a deeper connection to stillness, a centeredness. And we'll begin our meditation, our practice of stillness for about 9 minutes with light guidance. Listen to my words lightly and take, let your attention, your tending be to your body, your heart, your mind, and especially maybe if you feel you need an anchor, maybe the central channel just in front of the spine is helpful, or your breath, or the ground, or sound. But all of these things be the portal to just the feeling of being here, like the breath, always receiving, releasing. leaning into that consciousness of the one who is seeing all of this, experiencing all of this. So Shunryu Suzuki writes, posture. These forms are not the means of obtaining the right state of mind. To take this posture itself is to have the right state of mind. There is no need to obtain some special state of mind. So when you sit in the full lotus position, he says, your left foot is on your right thigh and your right foot is on your left thigh. When we cross our legs like this, even though we have a right leg and a left leg, they become one. And even if you're lying down and your legs are not positioned like that, my aside is you still have the one and the two, and they're together, they are your legs, one. The position expresses oneness of duality, not two, not one. This is the most important teaching. Not two and not one. Our body and mind are not two and not one. If you think your body and mind are two, that is wrong. If you think they are one, that is also wrong. If you think they are one, our body and mind are both two and one. We usually think that if something is not one, it is more than one. If it is not singular, it is plural. But in actual experience, our life is not only plural, but also singular. Each one of us is both dependent and independent. So when we take this posture, it symbolizes the truth. And the posture is in my interpretation, just like the word asana in Sanskrit for yoga, the idea of our seat. It's just the place we are, the right here, right now. You might have some attention to how your eyes are, how the whole body is. And perhaps if some joy is present. I'm alone sitting here, and I'm together with you with rock over there. The truth is not either one, but all together, alone and not alone. More and more, we start to notice that difference of when we're really not here, when our mind has hijacked us and kidnapped us somewhere, taken, absconded with our whole attention. A few more breaths in this practice together. Bringing palms together in front of the heart, bowing the head. And again, I like to invite you to feel what this gesture expresses, what you feel it's expressing. This gesture for our transition from this practice to the rest of life today. Oh, it's rock. And so you might remember again and again that what the mind can sense is limited. It's very important and wonderful, but if we can remember to incorporate sensing with our heart, with our body, that brings us to a greater fullness and really brings us right here. And somehow gives us more of an opportunity to be fully ourselves and to more fully appreciate our surroundings. I wish you a week of appreciation until we meet again next week. Please check out our YouTube channel, has lots and lots of videos for several years now. Thank you, Mary Beth. And our website also has lots of information, what we're offering and things to read, community to join, and virtually or in person. Ciao, ciao. Thank you so much. You complete me. Jerry Maguire, right? Ciao, ciao.